Welcome to episode 55 of Reverse the Relapse. And today I have a very special guest interview with Julie. So, Julie had struggled with her eating and weight for many years. The usual story, tried everything. She had surgery, all was going really, really well until she experienced a traumatic event at work and she started to eat and regain her weight as a way to cope and protect herself. So listen up as you hear about Julie's journey and some of the amazing outcomes that she has experienced as she has stepped into her version 2.0 self. You're in the right place if you're ready to stop the sabotage and weight regain post weight loss surgery and start losing again. Hi, I'm Georgie Beams. I'm a psychologist who works in the area of emotional eating, sabotage, and weight regain for weight loss surgery patients. I work both in a weight loss surgery clinic as well as supporting women online to reverse the relapse. I honestly believe that psychology should be a mandatory part of everyone's weight loss surgery journey. Your body has had an upgrade to version 2.0 after surgery, but your mind has been operating at version 1.0. You're here to update your mind to match your body and get back on your weight loss path, and I'm here to help you. So welcome, Julie, to the podcast. Now, I know Julie is an avid listener, and I know she listens to the podcast on her walk. So now that you are on it, welcome. It is so great to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning.
So let's start, Julie, with hearing from you a bit about your journey with your eating and weight.
My weight loss journey and eating journey started really when I was about 8 years old, possibly a little bit before that, but I don't recall it being before that. But when I was 8, I moved from our local village where I had all of my extended family within a 5-mile radius, used to see them every day, to all of a sudden it just been my family unit about an hour away. And I think I just felt really lonely, bored, stressed, but at 8, I didn't know why. And I started turning to food at that point. By the time I was 12, I was taken to the doctors and seen a dietitian, put on a diet. And actually, I was only about 7 pounds overweight at that stage, which when I look back now, I feel quite horrified at. But then started years of misery. I think it was a journey where I was allowed certain things, wasn't allowed certain things. We'd walk with family at the weekends and I would be given maybe an apple and a sandwich, and my family would have cake and crisps. So there was a lot of deprivation that set in those early years. I managed to lose weight when I got married. I gained weight, I lost weight. I've probably lost about 45 stone in my time, to be honest. But when I was about in my early 50s, I met you online with the Freedom Programme, joined up with that. But I wasn't in the right space at the time, I don't think. And because it was more self-directed, and I was miserable because I'd lost weight, I'd moved home. It was a very stressful time. To be honest, I didn't really, excuse me, do the work. And interestingly, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Year on year, when I weighed, every year I was heavier.
Yeah. So then there was a decision for weight loss surgery.
Yeah, interestingly, again, I think my weight had yo-yoed quite a bit, and I went in for a routine appointment to see my GP, who'd been my GP of 20, 25 years, and he just said to me, "Have you thought about having a gastric band?" And I was quite taken aback, really, because although I was very overweight, I still saw myself as quite fit and healthy. My BMI was 45 at that point, which just shows how you can see yourself very differently to what you actually are. Initially I was absolutely horrified, thinking I can lose this weight on diets. But he persuaded me to go for the programme. And in the NHS at that time, it was about a 2-year wait list. And I had to hit certain criteria, see certain people. Interestingly, all of which are doctors, medical staff. We didn't see anybody to help with the mind work on this side. And eventually I got through and was given the opportunity to go for surgery. But right up until that point, I think I'd gone along with it to humour him. And I thought I'll pull out at the last minute. And then I just thought, I'm going to grab this opportunity because I've been given it. And maybe it's a second chance for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So you had the surgery. Tell us just a little bit about the journey after you had the band.
oh, it was so miserable. I mean, it's fluids only for about, or a very, very low calorie diet for 6 weeks before, so that you can get your liver to the right size so they can physically do the surgery. So that was, I think, 6 weeks of 3 milkshakes a day to lose the weight, to reduce the liver. And then post surgery, it was 6 weeks of milkshakes because it's liquids only. And then you can eat maybe a teaspoon of pureed food. It was just like having my twins again. Making pureed food and managing. Some days it would take me an hour to eat 1 teaspoon of mashed food.
1
And
hour.
it was 1 hour. Yeah, it was
Wow.
really grim. I remember one day really, really, really craving chocolate, and it took me a whole day to eat a treat-sized bag of chocolate buttons. Um, I was very, very sick every time they adjusted the band. So I had to go through that whole routine about 4 times. And it was grim. Food had become my friend. I think growing up, moving, feeling lonely, miserable, depressed, I think.
Yeah,
Food was my constant, food was my friend, food was my go-to. And it was as if I'd had my right arm cut off.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I became
And
really quite stressed. Mm.
yeah, and I often work with clients after surgery where it's like this almost this grieving period.
Exactly.
Um,
I would
yeah,
agree.
and it's something that I
Yeah.
think probably isn't spoken about or isn't dealt with. And it's a real
Yeah.
thing because
It is.
it's been I call it a frenemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, we sometimes might call it a friend, but it is really a frenemy.
Yeah.
And then to have that taken away,
Yeah.
it can feel like a real loss.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, it culminated with me ending up having a bit of time off work because I just was so emotional. I was crying all the time.
yeah.
I really had no idea of the impact with it.
And is that
Uh,
how you thought it would be? Because
no.
sometimes, pre-surgery, it's so different than afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to get slim and I was going to be happy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
live the Cinderella life, happy ever after.
Because, yeah, being slim means happy, right?
Oh, absolutely. So we think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, did you get to go away, Julie? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Um, well, we had visits every few weeks up to the dietitians, and there became a whole list of rules. I mean, I can remember saying to the dietitian when she'd gone through everything I'd eaten the day before, and I'd said I'd had half a piece of toast with a bit of butter on it, and it was like, oh, you need low fat spread. So then became all the rules, and I just looked
Yeah.
at her and I said, you know what, I've given up so much, I'm not giving up butter.
Yeah.
To me, that was a real
That was
a
the deal
treat.
breaker.
It was a deal breaker. Yeah, that's the good word, actually, deal breaker. But I mean, they were really pleased with my progress. I normally do go, if I'm put myself out there for something, I will do my best to achieve it.
Yeah.
So I did have an amazing weight loss. I mean, I can remember getting new uniforms at work, and by the time they arrived, they were miles too big. The dietitians were comparing my weight loss with somebody who'd had gastric, or what's it called?
Bypass?
Bypass, that's it,
Yeah.
gastric
Yeah.
bypass, because the
Yeah.
weight was just dropping off me. I was getting lots of comments, lots of, wow, you look amazing. And that was nice.
But conversely, there was no psychological
Yeah,
help or support. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. conversely, there was no psychological support or help. It was just dietitians telling you what you could and couldn't eat. Um, and I'd had enough of that. I've done that all my life. I think I needed something different. So then it became food was a bit of a rebellion.
Mm.
Not long after that, so for about 5 years, my weight was completely stable. Once I'd got to my goal, I did really well. I lived, like, really took part in my life. I was cycling, training with a personal trainer 3 times a week with some friends, and it was brilliant. I think any opportunity I grabbed it. I travelled, bought a camera, took up photography, bought my first house. Um,
It's like the
completely
world
did
opened
it.
up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time for food. I ate when I was hungry, and that was
Mm.
it, because I was too busy enjoying myself and doing things that I wanted to do rather than just sat around being miserable and eating. And that was really a first for me. I used to weigh myself at that point because I would go away every January to do some voluntary work around the world somewhere, and I would always weigh in a January, and I would be within, for 5 years, I was 200 grams within the weight the year before.
Mm.
And I'd never thought about food all year, and I thought, this is it. I can put clothes on a year later and they still fit. There's
Yeah.
no worrying about what am I going to take away on holiday. My holiday wardrobe was packed away, and it fitted me the following year, which was amazing.
What happened?
Um, yeah, I was at work one day and I was sexually assaulted by a co-worker, which was at the time absolutely devastating. I spent 7 months with having to work with that person, where I was literally day on day. At some point, a tsunami of tears would come over me. I was crying all the time and just not me. I recognised that from that day I'd started eating again and eating more, and sort of not had given up on life. I was still going through the motions, but there was not the same zest for life. So I was sent to a counsellor. We did 6 months of talk therapy, and that didn't help at all, to be honest. I ended up moving, and I was then sort of about an hour and a half away from my nearest relatives. And I'd moved to get away from the job, from him, and to try and escape my life, because I'd recognised how miserable I was. But actually, that just put me in a bigger place of loneliness. And it was at that point that I met you the first time, because I knew that I needed to get back on track. I knew that I needed to put food in its right place.
Mm.
And I joined your freedom program as
Yeah.
it was running at the time. And there are so many fantastic principles in that which have given me a really good foundation. However, at that time, Zoom wasn't as prolific.
You're on
And
the
it
other
was
side of the world.
that's it. I am on the other side of the world, different time zones, and it still felt that it was me doing it on my own. I know
Mm.
that there was the community support, and that has been a great support over the years. But somehow, because I was lonely, was also in a difficult relationship. I wasn't motivated enough to do the work that I needed to do. Nothing's wasted. I've learned so much from that program, particularly around sort of like foods being quite neutral. Yes, I do love a bit of chocolate every whip in a while, and I had some last night, but I didn't feel guilty about it,
Yeah.
because for the first time, Georgie, this year I opened a tin and I've actually found out of date chocolate. That's just never happened in my place. Never. It's always been eaten. So I don't know what you've done to me,
Amazing.
but I know. But I
So
eat things, and I just there's no guilt.
so let's talk about what's happened to you with the program, and let's talk about the tools, because Julie's just finished up 3 months on the MBT group program. Plus, we had some one-on-one sessions because you had identified that this trauma that you mentioned had played a role in
Yeah.
terms of weight gain. And one of the blocks that we work on is holding on to excess weight to protect ourselves. So, from
Yes.
a subconscious level,
what can happen is when you had lost all that weight, you were at goal weight, something bad happened.
Mm.
And so subconsciously, it's like, well, I have to then put the weight on to protect myself, because if I stay at this weight or I go back to this weight, something bad will happen again in the future.
Yeah.
And of course, we use
That's
the
it.
tools with the EMDR. Maybe you could share what you feel comfortable sharing about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd known, as I said to you at the time, that the trigger for me was the sexual assault. But what I hadn't realised was that my feelings around that emanated feelings from things that had happened to me when I was very young. And on my one-to-one, because with the program we have our weekly meetings for processing, we've got the coaching calls every other week, and then there are the one-to-one sessions with yourself. And I remember talking to you around that, and you know what, you have an amazing gift for digging out patterns and pointing them when you can't see them yourself. And it became evident to me that I'd felt let down by sort of men that and boys that I'd known from when I was very young, and that was a real pattern for me. And I can remember telling you about the sexual assault and being in tears and beside myself, and you said, that's the block. We processed that with a 15-minute EMDR process.
Yeah.
And all that feeling's gone, all of it. I can
So
talk.
let's just time out. So you had 6 months of talk therapy after it.
Yeah.
You'd been sitting with it for how many years?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years,
and in 15 minutes,
yeah.
in 15 minutes, we got that from a 10 out of 10 to a 0. And
Absolutely.
we remember those words about insignificant, I remember those words very clearly. And like what a shift, like how powerful. I mean, I guess you probably never thought that it could shift that quickly, because you probably would have done that sooner, right?
Oh God, yeah. And you know what? I mean, you shouldn't regret things you don't do, but I can remember you offering me the EMDR one-to-one sessions when you were first starting it, and I was thinking, it is a lot of money. I can't afford it at this time, and I just literally brushed it to one side. But I think with my job as an A&E nurse, I've seen lots of people come through, and interestingly, one of the patients I had was ex-military, and he was saying that he had EMDR and it was really good. One of my work colleagues had a significant event and ended up being sent for EMDR, and she said that was amazing. And another work colleague, she's a paramedic, had an incident in an ambulance and had EMDR. And I thought, well, it's not just for military, it's just not for post-traumatic stress. Let's have a look at this. And then, of course, in January, you offered me the MBT course.
Yeah.
And it's an investment, but you know what? It is so worth it. I mean, I talk now about what's happened and how I feel, 15 minutes has literally changed my life again. And I feel emotional, not because of what happened to me, but because it was so damn simple to change that in 15 minutes.
Amazing. Yeah, so powerful.
Yeah, very.
Tell us about other shifts. So what differences are you finding now, eating in your weight, as a result of doing this work on the program?
Big shifts for me. I mean, obviously life isn't without its traumas, without its ups and downs and its triggers. And I had a major trigger a couple of weeks ago. And the thing that really hit home to me was, and I know that 6 months ago I'd have been in the kitchen eating. I'd have eaten the chocolate, it wouldn't have gone out of date. This time I just thought, I need 10 minutes out. And I did your self-compassion program, which is 11 minutes, sat with my feelings and just thought, wow, it's okay to feel like this. I am upset, and I wouldn't be human if I didn't feel upset at this stage. But it was very much that feeling upset is a process, you allow it, and then you move on. And, it's the first time that's ever happened to me. Every time before, I've gone for food, every single time. So that for me is the biggest shift.
And so how many years have you been going for the food like that in terms of those old habitual ways, do you think?
I think 48 years, Georgie.
So powerful.
It's just so delighting. It is. It's absolutely powerful, and that is the right word. Other shifts that have happened for me, I mean, we've been in a difficult year with lockdown. I've lived in leggings all year. But, I am bigger than I was. There's no doubt about that. I've been out and bought some clothes that fit me, that I feel good in. And that in itself is amazing. Going shopping wasn't the trauma that it always used to be. I used to cry because I'd got bigger and I'd needed a bigger size. But whereas this time it is what it is. I've got to accept and I've got to love myself as I am. I think I got this from you. You can't hate yourself skinny.
No, I tried.
Exactly. I've done that for years. So I've got some clothes that fit and it's lovely. And I actually, because I know that listeners are interested in weight, I don't weigh myself because it can be a trigger for me. If I've gained weight, then I'm unhappy I could eat. If I've lost weight, I could celebrate by eating. Although interestingly, that's gone because I did weigh yesterday and I've lost 5 kilos over the time of this programme, which if you're looking at a diet mentality, it's not a lot of weight in 12 weeks. But when you consider that I've not thought about food, I've just eaten what I've wanted. I've stopped when I'm full. I've not turned to food when I've been triggered. Those are the only changes I've made. And that's
Which is, it's all because, control comes up here, comes from our mind. And I mean, that's amazing because you've released the 5 kilos without dieting, without trying. It's that natural weight loss, which feels, it's almost like it sneaks up. Yeah. Which is what I love. Yeah. This is sort of, what we do with the program and the tools. And what's great is that you can release the dieting and the rules and rigidity, but not end up out of control, because that can happen, right? I sort of see with this all or nothing thinking that many women will say, right, I'm sick of the dieting, I don't want to do it, but then they go straight to out of control because that's the block, all or nothing thinking. But we clear all those blocks on the program.
That's it, absolutely. The other one was the block for exercise that really helped me because I've always, part of my weight loss journey was to beat myself and punish myself at the gym because I've eaten an extra biscuit or I've pigged out and eaten a Mars bar and I'm thinking that's 300 calories or however many it is because I haven't really got a clue. But then I'll go down to the gym and I'm on the bike, set it to how many calories I'm burning and I will work until I've lost however many calories I've just overeaten. But it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I've obviously
moved the transaction, right? It's very much like a transaction.
That is, yeah. Whereas now, I'll pick my camera up, I'll go down to the coast, go for a walk. And it's lovely to be out and about and just sort of moving because I want to move my body and I want to be healthier.
Yeah, yeah. And really, my ultimate goal for the women I work with is actually living life for them to sort of really step into their power and to be present and connected with themselves, which means they're connected with others. And live up to their full potential and just engage in life, because when we're focused on our weight and we have all this stuff going on and we're living life in our head, we're not actually really living life, we're observing life. So to me, the eating and the weight, they're the symptoms. I'm more about getting to that cause of actually really living your life and feeling good about yourself and getting into it, just like you described.
Yeah. That's it. Obviously very outdoors lifestyle here compared to where I was before, where I was indoors most of the time. Last year I went out and bought a kayak and I cannot wait now for summer to begin here, where it's a little too cold to swim at the moment for me still. But during the summer, another couple of months or a few weeks, the kayak's in the car, I go straight to the beach after work and I've either gone for a walk and taken my dinner down there. It's living in the moment and enjoying every day. And I think that for me has been the biggest thing. I'm no longer going through the motions, no longer thinking, oh, that's another week past and I've not achieved anything. There's always something that I've done that I've enjoyed on every single day. And that is amazing.
To me is like, that's life changing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Julie, what advice do you have for any weight loss surgery patients, whether they're pre-surgery or post-surgery? They're either worried about sabotage after surgery or they're in that sabotage mode. after surgery, the weight regain, maybe looking in the wrong places, feeling stuck, maybe part of them's kind of given up, it feels too hard. What advice do you have for them about doing this type of work?
I would just say, just do it. You really, really won't regret it. It's one of the best things that I've ever done for me. And it is purely about me. And it's about, I did it for me to get my head sorted around this whole problem, because I just didn't want to waste another 5-6 years post-surgery, gaining more and more weight, feeling more and more miserable. You know, for me, knowing what I know now, and I understand that it is a process and it is an expense and it is a considered purchase, but I felt that I'd invested so much in, I mean, you guys pay for weight loss surgery there, I understand.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying that massive amount out.
Yeah.
Why would you do that and not do the whole job? It's just like going in and buying half a dress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, my belief is that it's the mind work that makes the surgery a longer term success, because we know the mind can override. We know how strong it is.
That's it. I mean, we didn't have any of that when I had surgery, and to me, that is the biggest stumbling block. And interestingly, girls that I know that had the same surgery at me at a similar time, they've all gained weight.
Yeah.
And it's sad, you know, you put your body through so much, you put yourself through so much having the surgery, and then to not know how to handle life, not know how to handle the triggers, and to go back. And there's a saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Try something different is what I would say.
But Julie, I just want to thank you for today. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for your honesty. It's so important that we share these stories, that we share a new way to give women hope that they can change, just like you have changed and transformed. I've known you for a number of years. I have seen your transformation on the program. I have seen you blossom and shine. I am so happy for you. And also I want to acknowledge your commitment, because you are on the other side of the world, and that you didn't let that stop you in terms of getting up. And, you know, it might have been, I think you joined a call, it was 1 a.m, your time. And I was like, you know, like there are just no excuses. You are just absolutely committed. You are prioritizing yourself. And as a result, you're getting, you know, the transformation that you're after. So I just wanted to acknowledge that in you as well.
Oh, thank you. And like I said, I just got to kick myself that I didn't do this before. So if anybody,
it's all about readiness. It's all about readiness, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Just give it a go. People really have only got nothing to lose.
Well, a bit of weight.
Lots of weight.
and anxiety and fears.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
We do live a very fearful life, and a lot of that has gone for me.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
If you loved the content in this podcast, you have to come and check out my one-on-one coaching program. We work together for 3 months to get you back in control and change your relationship with food for good. Now, I only have limited places available every month. So go to my website and click Work With Me. That's www.georgiebeams.com. See you over there.